Hello, I am Rob from the lair of OmnusI, and yes, I do have a turkey on my head. That must mean that it's time for another daily word from the RPGaDay 2019, courtesy of the RPG Brigade of Facebook. Today is a fun day. The word that we have for today, which is the 17th of August, is one, which, oh, so evocative a number. But in this time, I'm actually going to be honoring the spirit of the RPGaDay. And quite honestly, if you go to a big convention, a Gen Con or Origins or Dragon Con or just about anywhere, one thing you quickly realize is that gamers look different. We've got wide swaths of culture that are represented in our numbers. We have the anime-loving folks who like their big eyes, small mouths games, or Robotech, and they like having, dressing up as their favorite characters and cosplaying. We have your old school grog nerds who meet together as they have for years and years and years and play their old school role-playing games the way they've been playing for decades. We have people who are always looking for the newest, latest, and greatest and may not care a great deal about what came before, and that's fine for them. We have people who are always looking for the counterculture, all the odd games out there, before they turn mainstream, of course. The folks who originally liked, say, Vampire the Masquerade were cool and edgy until lots of people started playing it, and then they kind of had their game taken out from under them. So there's a vast number of tastes. There's a vast number of people, too. People of all races, cultures, creeds have discovered role-playing games, and unless strictly forbidden because of some social mores or something, that and I'd like to think these are even changing in the modern society, that many people are discovering or now being raised in, that even those are being smashed and people are realizing that it's just a really good hobby and a way to spend time with your friends and tell some great stories and have some great adventures. You have people of all different preferences, identifications, and things too. And for some people, that's challenging. That's scary. That's people being different than you and your friends that you're comfortable with. A lot of people feel intimidated and threatened when they're confronted with the unknown, with what's new, what's different. Whether that be somebody of a different color, whether that be somebody of a different sexual orientation, maybe that's somebody with a very different background or having different things and different tastes. And a lot of times, people being what we are, that can lead to division, that can lead to resentment, hurtful words, because the internet makes cowards of many of us. You can say whatever you want on the internet and there's relatively few consequences, so people will say things without really thinking about what it would be like to say those things directly to another person's face. And the internet is oftentimes just a horrible cesspit of people having these kind of discussions, which is basically screaming insults at each other. But really, if you come down to it, this hobby, just like many hobbies, it's not good, it's not bad, it's how it's used. It's how the people within it choose to react to each other and to others outside of the community, and how they are going to be perceived and leave their mark on this hobby for what comes next and who comes after us. There's no getting around it that there are legacies to be had out there. My turkey is drunk. And that everybody can leave their imprint in a positive way or a negative way. Will the hobby get weaker if more people are negative? Yes, it'll splinter into groups who are basically just echo chambers of their own ideas and trying to keep other people out who don't fit into their ideas. But it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't. And I know for some people, this is preachy and this is, you know, fine for me. I don't have to deal with those kind of people. And a lot of cases that is true. Where I am, I don't know anybody in the surrounding area who is interested in gaming who is of a different, say, sexual orientation than myself. Most people around here are straight that I have encountered that have never made it an issue to include issues of sexuality in a game. So I generally run my games very neutral. I don't generally bring up the subject so that it doesn't either offend people or, entice a great deal of, controversy. But if somebody was interested and demonstrated that, they're interested in playing a gay half-orc, that would get a nod and a mention because it's something they're interested in, but I wouldn't dwell on it at the risk of, alienating other players. It would be something at most touched on once or twice, talking about how their character had a relationship to come back to, and yeah, it happens to be with another male. I have no problems with this and would include it if the player wanted me to, but I wouldn't dwell on it. Because unless I knew that for an entirety of a group that they were okay with it, it's just one of those things that my standing byline is don't include stuff like that at the risk of offending people one way or the other. And generally I think that works out fairly well. I like to have my games be fairly neutral. But am I afraid of it? Am I afraid of coming up to a table and, saying, okay, well, in this case we want you to play a gay character and we're going to explore this, what it's like to be gay in this setting. It's like, I wouldn't run away from that scenario screaming. Depending on what I'm doing, what other alternatives there are, that might not be the strongest thing for my taste. I get so few opportunities to play. I like to be the hero and do cool things and social justice and, dealing with perspective swapping like that. To me, that's just my tastes. But would I do it? Yeah, if that was the game that was in front of me, I'd try it. It might be eye-opening. It might be a thrilling adventure in a different way than what I was thinking of. But I know not everybody would do that. But if you ever get out of your bubble, look around, you'll see that ultimately people who are in the hobby and game, they want to have fun. And it is a social hobby. It involves having fun with other people. If you are going to constantly put up walls and fences and keep people out, they'll have fun on their own, hopefully. They'll find others who think like them and are okay with them and still be able to enjoy the hobby their way. But they might be a fantastic player that you've just shut out because something about you, your background, your personal ethic, what have you, didn't feel quite right about that. But perhaps with some conversation could have been smoothed over. Maybe you could have made a new friend or had a great new player in your group. So this is just me kind of, championing the cause a little bit. Not saying one thing is right, one thing is wrong, your beliefs are wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when we get to the table, if it's a place where we're all going to have fun, making it a neutral space, or at least communicating with each other. And if you're going to really want to bring in something that might challenge people's perspectives, number one, don't ambush anybody with anything like that. That's only going to have hurt feelings, and it's probably not going to end very well. Number two is, while it's great to use role-playing to explore things like that, and really, you should try to have a receptive audience, somebody who wants to participate in something like that. But once you do, once we open up those kind of dialogues, we might find that those people that we want to keep at an arm's length, they just want to have a good time too. Maybe a slightly different good time than what you're used to, but if they can come to a common ground and you can meet them halfway, who knows? You might be able to get into some really exciting avenues of role-playing and find somebody with a fantastic imagination who just wants to play a game. All I'm saying. I try to leave my prejudices at the door. I've played with people of all colors and creeds that I can think of, and found some fantastic players and a few lifelong friends in outside of circles that I normally find myself in usually. So I know that for the people who are really set in their ways, anything I say isn't going to change that. And again, I'm not saying that people who do live in their little bubbles and don't want to get out, if that's the way that they're going to have fun, all right. You're not hurting anybody like that unless you are, really being obnoxious about your exclusivity. But just a little pitch for maybe just opening up just a crack, trying something new, or maybe sharing what you love with somebody who doesn't know that way. I think a lot of common ground could be found just by people not taking what they do as gospel and opening up possibilities for everybody to enjoy things maybe your way, trying it out, but also looking for good in what they do. So, in that way, maybe we can get a step closer to our community coming forth as one, despite all the different faces and places, and maybe being able to have a good time together and not spend time hating each other or bashing each other's ways. Just a thought. It's a happy thought. It would be nice. So, be good to each other out there. Again, Lair of OmnusI is a safe space where we don't judge, we don't promote one way as being the right way. Just take you as you are, come in, have fun, tell us your stories, and we'll move forward together. So, this is something I believe in very strongly. Even though I'm not always on a soapbox preaching about it, I do think there's a place for everybody at the gaming table. And I believe that there are places where even people who are bitter rivals can find common ground and have a good time together. Thank you, and farewell.